Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the October Coffee and Conversation. We obviously have Steve Muller with us here today from Garden Spot Communities. We also have a few other team members in the crowd, or at least to my left and to my right. So we have Nate Weber, Chief Financial Officer for Garden Spot Communities, as you all know. Nate has been prompted to be here kind of by his own push. Just specifically, any questions related to, again, the upcoming meal plan related changes. He wants to make sure that we can have a presence in a meeting like this to answer those questions to the best of our ability, and any other financial related questions. We have Lou and Tom Bachacco from Dining. We have Al and Emily that you all know, and myself. So I wanted to, before we begin, I wanted to pass the mic off to Al for a quick second to talk about two items, I know it's not a town hall meeting, but I wanted to make sure that we front load a little bit of information, and then we'll open things up for question and answers, and then go from there. Sound good to everyone?
All right. So earlier this week, some of you probably noticed a car that was like on the entrance, all crashed up. And somebody asked me, was that an accident from a resident here? It was not. It was actually somebody that was traveling in the morning and they hit a deer. And that's why the car was there. So it wasn't none of us. It wasn't because, I just wanted to clarify that in case there was any more questions. It was a resident driving by from the community and messed up the car pretty good. No, the person was not hurt. The car was pretty bad.
And the deer was probably hurt.
Yes. Yep. Another thing, on the 2 days ago, I think there was a power outage that lasted for an hour and a half, 2 hours. That was outside the community. I heard it was a fire somewhere that knocked down the transformer, and that's why we didn't have power here. Thankfully, we have generators, except that one of them didn't come on. The Oak Tree generator came on the day before to do the weekly testing, just fine. But then the day that we needed it, it did not come on. The security people that are here during the nighttime, they didn't know what to do when that happened. So by the time that they got on the phone, started calling people, we got somebody in the house, the power came on. So came to find out that the generator needs a part to start automatically, so they ordered the part. It will be here in a couple weeks. They'll fix that. In the meantime, if it happens again, maintenance knows that they will have to go and start the generator manually. So hopefully that take care of that. Another thing that I heard was that it was kind of dark in some of the hallways. We are working on looking at the emergency lighting, like exit signs, make sure that they are working like they should be working. That there's enough lighting to see in an emergency that you could walk out of the building, even when there's no power from the generator. The next thing I wanted to bring up is that next week, the Oak Tree HVAC system will be turned off in Oak Tree for the final connections that they have to do. Most of the work is done in the roof. Now they are working inside the building on the 3rd floor, heavy work in the basement and the boiler room and all that stuff right now. Now they can't, today they get to a spot that they can continue unless they shut the system down and drain the system out so they could make final connections. Now that they have told us at the beginning it's going to be a week. Now the experts that are working on the system, because sometimes, people that work behind the desk, they don't see the actual place where they're working, so they'll be able to get it in a week. But the people that is actually working here, they say it could take up to 2 full weeks to get the system back and running. Now, they will be working early in the morning in some areas and later during the day. And they probably have to work during the weekend because they wanted to make sure that we get at least the heating part fixed as soon as possible. So there's gonna be a lot of workers from IT Landis moving around. There's going to be a lot of maintenance guys helping them out, making sure that you guys are safe when they have something in the hallway. They want to make sure that somebody has to walk through, that things are moved out of the way, so there's easy passage and for a lot of safety stuff. We will also, on Wednesday, that's the day that they are switching the cooling tower. So you'll see a big crane back in the docks. There will be some hallway closures. So on Wednesday morning, if you're coming or traveling from Magnolia to that area, you will have to walk through here because we'll have to have the hallway just outside these doors closed out because they don't want something to happen if there's an emergency. So we ask for your patience. We ask that you be careful when you're walking around because the faster we get this thing going, the better. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that yesterday we started to do another work in the generators, which is changing the automatic transfer switch. The ones that we had were outdated already, so they needed to be changed. Now, in order to do that, they had to turn the power off to the Magnolia building. In the process, all the water system was also shut down. I didn't know about that. Nobody knew about that until they flipped the switch. And that's when I'm standing in the boiler room saying, uh-oh. And the next thing you know, the radio was going crazy, people calling, well, I don't have no water. It was the water and hot water was turned off to the whole entire complex. About 10 minutes. So they're working on it right now. They're doing the transfer switch. I just went before the meeting to ask them, when are you going to be finished? Because they have to do the same thing. Again, they have to disconnect and then do the new connection this afternoon. So they said sometime after 1 p.m., they will have to shut the power off in Magnolia again so they could do the final connection. And then there will be no water during that time, or hot water. Then they'll do all the testing. They'll make sure that everything is put back to normal, and hopefully that will be it for that one. So if you have any questions or concerns during that time, always call the front desk, call the maintenance shop, and we'll be able to help you as best as we can. And that's all the updates that I have. So,
Couple questions. Number one, was that the generator that had the problem a while ago? Had the same switch kind of problem. Was that the same generator? First question. That's the first question. The second has to do with the system you're doing. What Oak Tree has is some sort of system like geothermal, and you're changing that. Are you changing it out from the original open system to a closed system? Is that what you're doing with it? Okay.
In short, to your two questions, generator-wise, we have two generators, one that powers Oak Tree and the bistro kitchen area, and one that powers Magnolia House as well as Aspen. The work that is being done today is the one that powers Magnolia House and Aspen. That work is for an automatic transfer switch replacement to make sure that it works quickly and well. The issue that we had on Tuesday or Wednesday, was specifically the Oak Tree generator. So this work is planned, and as expected, that work is newer because we didn't know that we had the issue until we had the issue. As far as the Oak Tree loop, again, to just solidify some of the things that Al shared. The replacement project that is going on is again, the way that I term it, We are replacing the heart and the veins and arteries of that entire HVAC system. So the heart being like the cooling tower, and then we have the boilers, and then all of the piping in between. All of that is something that we were planning to do, or we hoped to do, over several years, probably 3, 4, 5 years, because that would take a little bit of bite out of the cost. Unfortunately, the way the system was compromised to the degree that it was, we felt it urgent to take care of business and go after it, and that's what we're doing now. So it is our largest capital spend. It's our biggest and most expensive project that we have this year. We feel, though, long term, that is the best decision that we can make for Oak Tree residents and the community as a whole.
Thank you.
So I'll actually give just a little bit more context to that from a repair standpoint or a capital expense standpoint. One of the things that we like to do from a Garden Spot Communities approach, and we've done this at Garden Spot Village for years, is make good investments that we know, at least with today's knowledge, today's technology behind it and things, this should be a 20-year investment, and that's what we're doing with the Oak Tree Loop. Unfortunately, the system that was put in, we didn't have documentation on that. We had very little design evidence on that. And there was a mismatch between the kind of a cooling tower that it was compared to the kind of piping that was in the building. And that caused corrosion on the inside of that piping, creating lots of leaks. So if we didn't do this kind of a fix, we would have had to put up with more of those leaks systemically for a number of years until we piecemealed it. Kind of like Mike said, we could have spread it out and piecemealed it, and there would have been a lot more damage inside, you know, to drywall, and there's a leak in the closet. Whoops, now there's a leak in that wall, which we've been doing for a number of years already. Not any big leaks. A lot of times they're small and drippy, but there's damage that goes with each one of those. Or we could do what we're doing, which is let's put the right cooling tower in with the right closed loop kind of a system that we shouldn't have to fuss with or do anything with for 20 years or more. Knock on wood. That's the investment that we're making now. So kind of the philosophy behind that is, and the other part of it is that we're working on, Albert's working on, our staff in support of Frederick is working on, is documentation. What did we actually do back in 2025? Let's make sure that we have that captured, it's scanned into a server where we can go find that. 5 years from now, we're going to forget, you know, what were those details? But if we know it's in that folder on the server and it's backed up 2 or 3 or 4 places, we can go find that evidence and that data, which unfortunately right now, we're not able to find the stuff from the late 2000s, from the 2010s, those kinds of things. We don't have that evidence or that file documentation, but we're creating that for our future, ourselves and for the folks that come after us. Just a little context.
One other note before we pass it around for questions. Obviously, Steve Lindsay is not here. Steve, from what we talked about on Wednesday when I was out at Garden Spot, it appears that there was like a mini conference that was planned at Garden Spot that he was leading that he didn't know about until Wednesday and said, I can't be there because I am hosting this conference. So sends his regards. And as an aside, everything that we have passionately discussed over the past 2 weeks, he is well aware of, as is Steve Muller. So just to give you that note. Now, on that note, Emily has the microphone, and whoever would like to begin, I know Lou has a couple of pages in his book that he shared. If anyone else would like to begin, feel free. If not, we'll pass things off to Lou.
We've had at least one accident out front here. Many times I've had cars come up on my butt, and they were beyond Heimbach Road because it's 50 miles an hour, so they're doing 60. Is there any way you guys can contact PICO, first contact our legislators, Donna Sharin and the state senator, and see if lights could be put up that would be run by solar at either end, one on the other side of Colonial Road and the other on the other side of Heimbach that says, slow down, okay, entrance to community or whatever, because eventually someone's going to get hit and hurt. Okay?
Lou, in short, yes. I think that is there is no harm in asking, right? You know, I'm not really entirely sure what the next steps are in that scenario, but I think it's very reasonable, especially if you're turning left out of Frederick. You know, people are coming pretty fast. It says 50, but people aren't going 50 down that
First
road.
thing they'll do is do a study.
Yep. So I think that's very reasonable to explore that, to ask that, and to see if what's possible from their standpoint. So absolutely.
Six weeks ago today, Comcast came to our room and replaced our cable box. We were told that was because we could not get the channels from Frederick Pryor. They replaced that. We now, I'm thankful, we do get both those channels. However, after they left, we turned the TV off. We can no longer turn on the TV. The process we went through for 2 days was to crawl in back of the furniture, unplug the boxes, wait 5 minutes, plug the boxes back in, wait an additional 5 minutes, push the button on the TV, and within 2 or 3 minutes, our TV will come on. We finally got tired of crawling in back of the furniture every time, so I found a receptacle that worked off a light switch and plugged everything into that. I now can get the TV going in approximately 8 to 10 minutes every time it is turned on by turning a switch at the kitchen. This eliminated crawling in back of the furniture. This has been reported, and they've been very friendly down at the maintenance office once or twice every week. Emily is aware of it. We also saw Connor in the hallway yesterday who said, I don't get any response from Comcast at all. If I go through this process and wait 1 or 2 minutes too long before going through the procedure, I then have to do it a second time, which also entails an additional 8 to 10 minutes to turn on the TV. Now, I know Comcast has been right on time on sending out their bills. What is the problem with their service?
Can I ask a quick clarifying question? Yeah. So I know I had talked to you about this and you had updated Bev. Did they never come back out? Okay. So we'll have to follow up on that. They were on the list for Comcast to come back out. I know we were able to get it in a few places, additional residents with Comcast coming out, and we were not able to get it in certain places. But we'll need to follow up on why they have not been back out to fix this issue. So I apologize for that. In terms of Comcast in general and their service, do you want to answer that one?
In short, we understand, I appreciate Emily's response in that there are some things that perhaps we can do our best to coordinate on our end. There are limitations of what we can do, though, in terms of their customer service and their responsiveness. We share your frustrations, and we can organize ourselves to the best of our ability and communicate to the best of our ability. But unfortunately, there are instances where there are going to be gaps between what we can do and what they will do.
And what I really appreciate you sharing that, and with the response from the whole audience and some laughter and things, it sounds like you're not the only ones that are experiencing this. Our goal, broad-based, would be to find an advocate at Comcast. There should be some kind of an account rep that is responsible for this area, and then recognizing that we have several hundred folks here that are Comcast users and that they are paying their bills. We're all paying our bills, and they do send them on time, and we pay them on time. We should get better service than that. So one of the other folks that, and it's not that Andrew back at Garden Spot Communities would have a particular phone number to call or other person, but we've got a big account with them out in New Holland as well. We should have some ability to find that account rep, account executive, account advocate, something like that. So thanks for bringing it up, and we will absolutely work on that. But we should have somebody that we can specifically call and go through these kinds of troubleshooting things where they realize, like, oh, there's some improvement that they need to make in their system. You should be able to hit a button on a remote and the TV starts, not all these machinations to try and get it to work. Yeah.
May I? We had our box replaced, and that's when the community channel disappeared, by the way, just within the last year. And as for resetting your system, there is a breaker you can get to. It's a lot easier than climbing behind the furniture.
I have a comment about Comcast. When we first moved here 9 years ago, every Tuesday, a Comcast representative was here. Every Tuesday, and if you had a problem, that was taken care of. Now, that was discontinued. My guess is it's a question of finances. The other question I have is dining. My dining dollars run out on the 20th. Now, if they're going to start the new system on November 1st, I want to know how they're going to prorate the rest of the time I have in October prior to starting the new system in November.
Before Nate answers that, just to solidify your Comcast comment, we did have a Comcast rep that was here on campus on a consistent basis. They notified us that they discontinued that practice.
Shame on them.
I agree. Shame on them.
I have one, just to help clarify too with Comcast, one other thing, because in terms of the channels, 1978 and 1979 in Comcast, for many years we were able to get those channels across campus, no problem. That is not the case. For the past year and a half, Andrew, myself, Connor have been working with Comcast to figure out why. And part of it is they have said that, hey, we can get it in some areas of campus moving forward, but particularly the Meadows area, we are not able to get that. And so what we want to do as a community, now that we're starting to get some of these answers back from Comcast, is make sure, for example, we have on the app, you can live stream, you have a YouTube, we have Frederick Living YouTube, but if you go on the app and you hit the live stream, you can watch programming on your computer or something like that. We also have the ability, many of you have smart TVs. We can find ways to work with Connor and the team to help show you. We can probably get an app for the YouTube live stream, different things that we can do to get it for you if you can't. So that's kind of the direction I want to move, because it sounds like it's not going to happen across campus, that we're not able to do that in terms of fiber. It's a little complex for me, but the answer was, hey, that's probably not going to happen. So what other solutions do we need to look at to make sure we're able to do that? In the meantime, we do know certain areas that weren't getting it, we are able to get it with a few tweaks, and hopefully we can make sure we don't have the tweaks that Elwood and Catherine had, so that we can move that forward. So just so we're clear, we are aware that some of you are not getting that channel. We have been aware. We have worked at length with them. We have our answer in some ways, and so we want to look at some other avenues that you're able still to view the TV channel.
Good morning. Another Friday. To your question, so we do know there has been some meal plans that had reset on the 10th. There's another one coming up that'll reset on the 20th. Our plan, as I stand here today, is whatever money you have left over by the 31st of the month will roll over on the 1st, and then you will get your new funding starting on the 1st of the month. So I realize those people that are resetting on the 21st, you're going to have a nice big balance available to you depending on how you eat between now and the end of the month on the 1st. That right now, that's our best way forward with this. We understand that it's going, and that's how we're planning on it. So again, as your meal plan resets, this is the first month that starts the rollover. If you have money left over on the 31st, you can allow it to roll over. It will roll over.
I'm $16 already over.
You're $16 over, so you're gonna.
It's only, what's the
When's your meal plan reset?
20.
The 20th, right. So you're $16 over. So on the 20th, we'll have an account. We'll put that 16 on your individual statement. You're gonna get, you said you're over. And when you say over, that means you are, oh, you're under, right. Yes, so for the people that are coming up on the 20th to reset, dollars you have will still have to be used just like the old plan.
I won't have any money left, but did I get it right? No.
Why don't you and I talk after this? I don't want to confuse the rest of the audience on an individual account.
Similar question, many of us had about that, I'm not sure about that.
So again, the best way I can say this is if you have not already been reset and you're coming up on a reset for your plan, the best way to think about this is it's still the current system. If you've got money, you've got to use it by the 20th. Okay, if you've got money, you've got to use it by the 20th. Anything after the 20th, you are good, and we will continue to carry that forward just like we're going to be in the new plan. Yes?
Okay, so on the 20th, or the 21st, whatever it is, you get the new for the next month's worth, so 195. So the same problem, if I'm running out of money, let's say I've used it all up, so I get my new 195. How about the 20th of next month? I'm still got a shortfall, so how do you handle that?
Nope. So once we start here, bear with me here. So I'm on the 195 meal plan. I got my 195 on the 21st last month, and I have a month generally to spend it under the old system. And you're coming up on the 20th. If I've got $5 left, you have to use the $5 or you're going to lose it. When the 21st comes around, you get your new 195. What's going to happen now is we are moving everybody to replenishing on the 1st of the month. Okay, so November 1st, whatever you have in your account, say it's $100, you will start with $100 and you will get your 195 on top of that. So in this particular situation, you will start November 1st with $295, and then the next reset will be December 1st. The next reset, January 1st, so forth and so on.
Thanks, Nick, that's much clearer.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad it took me 6 meetings to get here, so I appreciate that. Better late than never, right?
I do have another question. The big gray box in my garage from CUTV has never been disconnected. I thought they were supposed to be disconnected. I don't, Al, wait, no.
You may have been missed. It should have been. All senior TV boxes should be disconnected at this point in time. If not, if we have individual instances where that is not the case, let us know. When we say disconnected, that does not mean the box is physically removed from your space. It means it's disconnected.
When we have these sudden outages, for no good reason, we don't know why don't we use the one call to get out to people? Because what happened was, I just happened to turn on the water, and there was no water. So I tried to call, and of course, it was overloaded. Everyone was trying to call to find out what happens. So why can't we use the one call to get out so people know what that emergency was, rather than all the people calling the operator?
two ways to answer that, and I'll aim at both. Short term, we try to strike a balance between one call for everything and one call for a few things. To your point, yes, perhaps there are more instances in which we can and should utilize that service. We don't want to inundate residents with phone calls and text messages and emails and all that for everything. But to your point, perhaps we can use it more often than we do. Longer term, and this isn't a today thing, but this is longer term, there is a system utilized at Garden Spot that we would like to move toward that is not a one-call system. It's called the Katie system, where it involves iPads at each accommodation, and there are messages and communications that are much clearer, much cleaner, and in a much better way than the system that we have in place. That is a long-term vision and fix that we are aiming for, but in the short term, I would agree with you. Perhaps we can be more liberal in the way that we utilize that system.
I have another question. When Beyond the Leaf took down those trees, are they going to grind the stumps out too, and we're going to replace the trees that were cut down?
Yes. So Ryan, during the winter months when he's like a little bit down on outside work, he'll be grinding some of the stumps, and yes, we'll be replacing some of the trees. Not all of them, but some of them.
When are you going to take the trees down on this side that need to be taken down?
Yes, that was an oversight of the company that came over. They thought that they were finished, and now Ryan is trying to schedule something with them. They came, I think, a day or two ago, unannounced, and they came over and they said, hey, we can't do that now because there's cars around it. So they left, and now Ryan.
I'm talking when you come in from Heimbach Road. And right there, we're at the patio apartments. At number 10, that tree is really bad, where the one blew down from that one storm last year. And then there's another dead one, and then when you drive to go over to, there's a dead one standing.
Yeah, so there's a few trees on this side of that were missed, and those are the ones that. Yeah, so they'll be down sometime, because yes, it's that they missed them that day, so we decided to reschedule again.
I'll get Jim real quick, then I'll come back.
Okay, the box. The box. Who is us? You say call us. Do we call maintenance? Because nobody's been there to get in our garage to disconnect our box. Now, maybe they have another way of doing it. I don't know. But, so to our knowledge, no one's ever been there, and you say call us. Do we call Emily? Do we call maintenance? That's my question. I'll be glad to remind them.
In this instance, call maintenance.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm a little confused when you say that you're working on these pipes. So that's going to also include the patio apartments in Aspen?
No.
No?
No, the HVAC loop that we're working on does not affect the patio homes, nor does it affect Aspen. It affects all of Oak Tree, as well as certain spots in the auditorium, in the bistro, and in the kitchen.
Very good, thank you.
So we will have some space heaters around in the kitchen, or pardon me, in the bistro as needed, and in some of those areas as well, because that heating will be affected for that 1 to 2 week, really 2 week period of time.
Once, when they installed the update to the sprinkler systems in the closets, there's one in every 2 units. They're different between the cone flowers like ours and the sunflowers. The sunflowers are inside their door. The space is much smaller. They took insulation out. I was talking to Ron Sekelic. They took insulation. I looked inside. They did come down to mine and finally put green board up because all the insulation was sticking out at the closet. So if it gets wet in there, you now have to rip out all the insulation rather than having the green board close it up, which it should have been done to begin with. And looking at his, there's a place on the side that a piece of green board could be put up to protect that insulation. On the back, there was originally stuffed in there insulation fiberglass. It would be better to use 1-inch urethane and slide it up in there. Then if it gets wet, it won't destroy it. You won't have to tear it out again, and it'll have a better value, R value, to protect that where you put the heaters in. So someone should be looking at those before they put the doors on to see what the best way is to make sure that's insulated the best it can be. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Lou.
A question for Tom. As a follow-up to the dining service meeting of the other day, will there be some updates, or will you share with us a plan you're formulating to make some of those corrections at the dining committee meeting, which is this week?
Good morning. I actually was going to follow up at the end of the meeting if nobody asked. But yes, we are putting together, I want to put together a detailed action plan for you so that we can go over it with you. We're going to meet, Lou and I are going to meet with Debbie today to get something worked out, and then we'll come back to you in a larger group than just the dining committee, because there was plenty of people here to let us know what's going on. So I want to get back to everybody so you can see what we have planned. And I do appreciate that meeting. If you folks don't let us know what's going on, we can't fix it. So I do appreciate everyone coming out for that and letting us know where we're at so we can get things corrected for you.
On that note, without poking the hornet's nest too much, we have had some passionate conversations in the last few meetings about dining. And I wanted to, in addition to, Tony's question there, if there is anything else that is dining related that needs addressing, this is still the time to do it. So by all means, we can add that to the conversation as well.
One of the other things that we rely on a lot in the background, and some of you kind of know this and use it liberally in things, is the Happy or Not. So we have those little iPads there. Has a smiley face all the way down to a frowny face. And it's as simple as, and again, numerous folks interact with that already. We have them at Garden Spot as well. One of the things we really appreciate about that is it gives us a date and it gives us a time. So if you pick right in the middle, it's not the frowny face, it's not the smiley face. Once you hit that first response, you can get a second screen where you can actually say what it was. It was the quality of the food, it was the cleanliness, it was the service that you were either happy about or that you were sad or frustrated about. And then there's even a third screen where you can put notes in. A little keyboard comes up and you can say, the flank steak was awesome, smiley face. Or you can say, the beans are mushy again, I don't like mushy beans. But it lets us know because it has a date and a time with it. So we really rely on those and watch them very religiously, and we always follow up on that. And even if you're typing in one of those comments and you say George B., then we'll know who George B. is, and like, hey, we can follow up with George and say, hey, so sorry about the mushy beans. Here's how we handle our mushy beans, and thank you for that feedback, that kind of thing. So even if it's not in this kind of a setting or catching Tom in the hallway or something, you can rely on that Happy or Not and just use that screen for that feedback because we look at those faithfully every day. We do it at Garden Spot, we do it here at Frederick Living, and just kind of want to promote that again because of the timestamp that goes with it.
There's prime rib on the menu next week, unless you haven't noticed. That's a change. I said there's prime rib on the menu next week, so that's a big change.
Can there be any medium rare meat served?
For prime rib.
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah, I did post the menu for next week, and I did hear from Deb that on Tuesday and I believe it's Thursday evening, the menu has been changed up. So
And Lou, what about the turkey dinner? Do you have a date for that? Tuesday? 21st.
yeah, I think that's Tuesday, and then I saw prime rib the other day. Yep. Prime rib, yeah. Turkey Tuesday, prime rib Thursday.
The tenderloin is always really good, and what I've recommended to them is to cut in the middle to get the medium rare pieces out or rare pieces out for people, and then the ends. But are there lamps on that cutting board? Because I think what is happening is a couple times the tenderloin on a Sunday was actually cold, so they must have taken it out and laid it on that board. I've seen it other places where they have 2 heat lamps facing down on the meat they're going to cut to keep it warm.
So there are heat lamps. They're not working properly. So I was here the other night carving, I forget what day it was, but I was carving the roast beef out there. The one light was on, the other light wasn't working, and someone, I'm assuming, dropped that piece of equipment because I tried to move the light to hold it on the meat, and it just wobbles. So we need to order a new one and get it in place, and I think we might have one upstairs. So we just need to get that replaced, but I did notice that the other day.
It's just not dining service and quality of food. We have friends down at Peter Becker who are very anxious for us to come down there and spend the day and go to the dining room with them. And of course, we would like to reciprocate, but at this point in time, we're hesitant to do that. So it's just not dining. Dining ripples out into marketing and advertising, and hey, we love it here. My husband's as happy as a lark. He's never talked so much since being at Frederick. But this, I think, is problematic. We are hesitant to have them come at this point in time.
Tony, we appreciate that. I am surprised that Percy hasn't been like that previously. But in all honesty, your comments are extremely relevant. We recognize and we appreciate that dining meals are the lifeblood of this and any community like ours. And as we have discussed in an open and honest and frustrated way, particularly over the past couple of weeks, we recognize and we are we're emphatic about making the changes that are required so that not only meals are good, but you're open, happy, and welcome to bring anyone into this community, as you should. So we apologize that you're not there yet. You have all the right not to be there yet, but it's our job to make sure that you do. I was just kidding, Percy. Yes, it was.
So just to follow up a little more, I do understand the importance of dining, and it's not just the food, it's the social aspect, it's the ambiance, the atmosphere, how the dining room looks. So I'm fully aware of that, and that's why I'm saying we will get back to you with a detailed plan. But 2 things I did want to let you know. So I had explained at the meeting about the square plates and they don't hold temperature and all of that. We did order a couple more cases of the China plates so that they hold heat. They're not in yet. They're factory direct. We should have them hopefully next week, so we're not using those plastic plates anymore. And a couple people talked about the ladles for the soup, that they're too long and they hit the glass. We also found some ladles that are actually angled, and they're made for situations like that, and Lou ordered them as well. So once they come in, we'll have them out there. So that should alleviate that problem. And we're ordering 6 ladles so that we have 2 out, 2 in the back, and 2 for backup because things disappear. And then I talked to Debbie about the gluten-free soups. We're still working on that, and we'll get back to having that separate pot over on the side with gluten-free. So there's just a couple of things from the meeting that I just wanted to let you know. We heard you, we're working on it. Once these things come in, you'll start seeing those changes as well.
This is not a dining issue, and I apologize if this only applies to our 4 patio apartments, but I guess this would be an Al question. To get hot water, we have to leave our spigots on forever, and I'm really kind of feel guilty wasting all the water that we do until we can get hot water. So I don't know if it's just that our hot water has to come so far or what, but it really struck me because I went to a program at church where you see people walking miles to get fresh water, and I let it go down the drain forever.
Yeah, that's in the Meadows too.
I'll let Al take that one.
Yeah, that's news to me, so I will check on that, make sure that the recirc pump is working like it should, that the mixing valve is working like it should. But yeah, the water shouldn't be running that long before it gets hot.
You have to leave it run about 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll check.
A lot of water going down.
We'll check on that to see what's going on.
5-10 minutes is clearly too long, so that's an issue that we can resolve. There are instances where sometimes it will take a little bit of time, and sometimes when you're asking it to take a little bit of time, it feels like too much time. But there are going to be instances where there are gaps, but 5-10 minutes is far too long, and that's something that we can look into.
I've noticed during the week, I don't really have that much trouble in the shower because I get up early. So I go right into the shower. So nobody is using the hot water, but I still have to leave it run till it gets to be hot. But if it's later, say maybe 10 o'clock, 11, and I want to take a shower, that's not so good sometimes. So, and I think it has to do with everybody going in the shower, maybe around the same time. So, but it shouldn't be, because we shouldn't be wasting all that water.
Well, a couple of comments. Number one, the water. You're not alone. We live in the Meadows, and it does take a long time. Our water heater's upstairs, and where it gets hotter or hot quicker is, a mystery. And, it is. It's a waste. It's a shame. These places are relatively new, and something is wrong with a lot of things, and Lou will attest to that. Anyway, the other thing, with regard to dining, I think some things have to change with regard to the system of, you get your food, but then you go to get a beverage, the food continues to cool down, and then you wait in line, and then you finally get to your seat, and it is cold. are much cooler. You put a pat of butter on a vegetable and it doesn't melt. That's an indication something's wrong. Maybe things could be switched around with regard to the beverages, or, you know, they come in restaurants with an iPad. You go through the line, you get your drinks, and they punch in what you got, boom, give you a printout. Or, you know, like the other day, Carol just said, hey, I'm going to eat while it's halfway warm. I'll tell them later what I got. I don't know if that works for you or not, but, you know, tell you that. And also, this is a not happy look here with regard to a dryer issue. We had the lint taken out of our dryer, the system of the lint going out, it's terrible. And they came from maintenance and cleaned it out, apparently blew, we weren't there, the hose out to the yard. The individual said, I saw him the other day, and he said, oh, I went out and picked up a lot of the lint. It happens all too often, and we're religious about cleaning that lint trap. And the dryer's broke right now. We need a clothesline out between our places to dry.
I appreciate that. Al's taking notes. I was not aware of the dryer issue or the lint issue, so thank you for bringing that to my attention and the larger group's attention.
One second, we get Pam, and then I'll be back up to you.
Just a quick FYI, we're in Maplewood, we have the same water problem. You could float a boat on the amount of water I have to run to get in the sink, enough for the sink. So it seems to be more widespread than I had realized.
Does anyone's hot water turn on time?
No.
Yeah, we got a hand raised, 2 hands raised.
And the problem with the hot water is very simple. It's well water. It's coming underground at 54 degrees. It's not in any kind of conduit, so it's underneath the concrete slab. You can fix that. It's called looping. Put a little heating system on, you always have hot water. That's how you get hot water at your spigot. There's no way with slabs that you're going to get that hot water right away. It's not going to happen. Okay? I have a friend that's what they did. Well, where do they put a loop in? You turn on their water and it's hot, but that costs money to do. So I'm frustrated too because you have to wait for hot water, but that's the reason it's that way. Now down in Florida, you have hot water all the time. You never get cold water. Okay? So whereas the ground's always warm. So that's the problem with it, and everyone could have one of those loops put in and it would solve the problem, but it isn't cheap to do. Okay? So just my comment. The dryer situation is another problem because there are many places here that the length of the loop is ridiculous. There's some that actually go through a 2-car garage out the gable end. It's supposed to be no longer than 18 feet. Every 90 degree adds 3 feet to it. Every 45 adds 1.5 feet. So if you have these things going up and down and around, it keeps sticking in the attic pipe, tin pipe that it's going through. I just cleaned our dryer. I cleaned it faithfully out, but the dryer was full of lint. And I got my vacuum out and vacuumed out the part just I could get to. But that's part of the problem. And to be honest with you, I don't know how you'd fix that, okay, because it's already in there. It's in the walls, it's in the attic, okay, but that is a problem. So the recommendation was, when I talked to Greg, is to clean them every year. To clean those pipes out every year, because you could cause a fire.
So what's the hot water tank for that's in everyone's cottage? We have a hot water tank. No. Yeah, I have. So I have a hot water tank in my cottage. Isn't that supposed to retain hot water? And yet I have to run it a good 2 to 3 minutes at the sink and even in the shower before I have hot water. And then it's hot, I admit. But I just get, and the distance from the shower to the hot water tank is
less than an in and out oxygen jump.
Yeah, it really has most to do with where that pipe travels. So Lou's right. We have well water, 54 degrees. That's coming under the slab. But from that hot water tank to wherever you're using the water, you have to heat up that pipe, is what it comes down to, before the hot water comes out your spigot. So one of the solutions in the background, it would be an individual solution for each one of the residences, for each one of your accommodations. Because some of those areas you could insulate, you could actually wrap a pipe, that would help a lot. Because then if it's going through a space that's not fully conditioned, like in the wintertime, it's not freezing, but maybe it's getting down to 50 degrees, 48 degrees or something. Well, now that's 48 degrees that you have to overcome because you'd like your water coming out of the spigot at 100 degrees. So we'll start to investigate this more, but again, it's a case-by-case solution kind of a thing. The looping that Lou mentioned is very expensive, and then you're tearing out some pieces of ceilings and walls and all kinds of things to create that loop. That's not unusual at all in commercial buildings, like these kinds of buildings. You would want to have a loop. It's actually required in nursing settings because you have to have a loop with a mixing valve and things. That water needs to come out at 105 degrees or 112 degrees, that kind of a thing. This is great conversation. Really glad that we brought it up. And let us start to investigate that. Like anything else, there's numerous solutions, and they're the whole spectrum of cost. Here's an affordable solution, like wrapping a pipe with insulation. Here's a really expensive solution, like creating a loop. And there's a dozen or more others in between.
Just an aside, the interesting thing is I can turn my shower, my tub water on, and I get hot water immediately. So what Lou says doesn't apply to that, but my sink takes forever. So 2 different spigots in the same apartment, and they act differently. So I do get hot water right away at one place. We don't have hot water either.
We don't have them, so where does the patio apartment water come from? From the main building? So that means it comes underground when it's, right?
Yes, you're correct. It comes from.
Yes, the patio apartments, hot water, is not created in the same building. It's sent from over here, from right behind here, and it goes down on the ground, goes that way. I was actually looking at the connections yesterday, and like Steve has said, some of them is missing some of this wrapping. It looks like a lot of piping was replaced in recent years, but they have not insulated it very well. So I'll be looking at the mixing valve that he said, make sure that the temperature is correct coming into the building, and looking at insulating some of those pipes and see what else is happening.
Same thing for Aspen above us.
Yes, yep. So they all get this water from the same place. Yes.
Okay.
For that possible outage this afternoon with water, the other morning, it just wasn't hot water. It was cold water also. You got nothing.
The outage the other day wasn't just more water. We lost both.
Yes, we lost all the water. Yes.
But that's not what you said earlier.
Okay. Yeah, we did lose all the water. Yes. And we will lose it again this afternoon for 5 to 10 minutes.
We expect when we make the reconnections required for the generator that there will be both power and water out for approximately 5 to 10 minutes sometime after 1 p.m. Al and I were considering doing it between 10:30 and 11:30 today, but that wouldn't be right. On that note, if there are no other questions, we're at a little past an hour, so I think that'll wrap things up. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions, everyone.